Welcome to another episode of A Talk About Palestine in Snak om Palæstina. Today we sit in Jordan with Suhad Khatib. We are 175 kilometers away from Rafah, where yesterday there was a big massacre. At least 45 people were killed, around 100 people wounded. Most of the people killed women and children. So last night it was a horrific night, and I think everybody who has an eye on Palestine, has an interest in Palestine, have been watching and following what's been going on yesterday. You were watching as well, I guess. So I
haven't slept watching. I try not to see the actual scenes, but the voices, the pleas are still stuck in my ears.
Yeah, I forgot to say that you are an artist, of course. As you are a filmmaker and an artist. You are a very talented artist. I went to your studio yesterday and saw your beautiful paintings. You're Palestinian, of course. Where in Palestine exactly is your family from?
My father is from Lid, and my mom is from Tulkarem, from Shweke.
Okay.
It's a little village by Tulkarem.
Okay. And you were raised where?
I was born in Amman, and I was raised mostly in Jordan, and I lived in the U.S. almost as much as I lived in Jordan, and now I'm back to Jordan.
Yeah. So you have an American passport.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So how long were
For
you?
now.
For now. And you were involved with the Palestinian activism as well in the States.
Yes. Yes. So I think what happened is that when I first moved into the U.S., I stopped painting, as you said, I'm an artist. And so I stopped painting when I moved to the U.S. And I didn't understand the reasons why, but I think one of them, if I want to think about it from a very high level, is how little community there was. And, you know, as someone who grew up in Amman and also in Muscat, for the first 7 years in my life, community is essential. And I didn't understand the individualism that the United States puts you in. And so I was searching for communities at the time. I tried to be friends with diaspora from different Arab countries to talk to, but that was not what I was looking for. And then I started working with organizing committees in St. Louis where I was staying. And that's when it all started organizing within the community.
So was it like... So you also, of course, experienced the Black Lives Matters movement?
Way before the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So I was organizing with a group in St. Louis, and the first big project that I worked on with them was a divestment project, a divestment from a water company called Veolia. And that company was so evil, and it was divestable because it used to... make it easy for all the settlements in Palestine, the illegal Israeli settlements in Palestine, to have sewage and water easy to any settlement. And they were coming to St. Louis, and we knew they were going to cut jobs from the water company in St. Louis. And St. Louis water was amazing compared to other places where Veolia has been over the United States.
My late uncle, he lived in St. Louis until he died, actually. Also
really?
Palestinian, yeah, my father's brother.
Okay.
Yeah. I went there just before he died. I came I think a day before he died, just to be with him, representing the family. A sad story.
I spent 10 years in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know, when I moved to St. Louis, I didn't know where it was on the map. So for people who don't know where it is on the map, it's exactly in the middle of the United States. It's the gateway to the West, as they call it.
He was the only Palestinian in the area. And so he went with his wife to church. He was a Muslim, and they never met a Palestinian before. So he was going to church with her, and he was sometimes cooking falafel and giving them falafel, and they never tasted falafel before in the community. And wearing his galabiya, and
yeah. Well, I was lucky. I had eventually I found a big Arab community, but St. Louis is one of the most segregated cities in the United States. I mean, the United States is built on a system of segregation. But St. Louis particularly, that's probably why the Ferguson uprising happened there. Exactly. Because it's an extremely segregated city. Half of it is on the Illinois side, and the other half is on the Missouri side. And there probably were Arabs, but I spent 8 years there not really understanding, where are the communities? until Ferguson happened. And so after the divestment from the water company, we had a coalition with a lot of black organizing groups. So when Ferguson happened on August 9th, 2014, they reached out to the Palestinians in the group who helped, whom they worked with over when we were working on the coalition. And that's how I started working and understanding black liberation movements in the United States.
Okay.
And understanding the United States itself.
Yeah. And this movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, has that transformed into the Palestinian activism in the United States? Is the same people involved, or?
I digress. I really don't, my opinion on this is probably not a very popular opinion. I keep going back to Ferguson in particular because Black Lives Matter as an organization or an institution, it came out after the Ferguson uprising. And in my opinion, it was one of the institutions that were created to end that uprising. Usually uprisings can't stay longer than 24 months max. And one of the reasons why it stopped and some of the activists were found dead was because they found the leaderships that can control the system from now, and the government doesn't have to. It can happen through institutions. And so, but to go back to your question about how did Palestine become part of this, is that Mike Brown, Allah yarhamu, he was shot 8 times in front of his house. He was 18 years old. He was supposed to go to college in a few weeks. And he lived in a neighborhood called Ferguson. Ferguson, the majority of the population is black, but the majority of the police that controls Ferguson is white. 95% of it is white. And some of these police have been trained by the Israeli army. And so his murder, Mike Brown's murder, happened 2 weeks after the war in Gaza in 2014. And so youth from Gaza reached out to youth from Ferguson on their own, trying to give them tips on how to survive the gas that was shot on the activists in St. Louis. And so I remember I was in meetings at the time with the Ferguson youth who were like, what is the Gaza? They didn't even know what Palestinian meant. They just knew that while everyone in the world was against them at that moment, while CNN was calling them really bad words, Palestinians from Gaza were reaching out to them as brothers and sisters, trying to protect them with the knowledge that they have against the system. And so that's what the groups, the organizing groups did afterwards. And they found out the connections between the Israeli army and how they militarized the police in St. Louis. And some of the gas that was actually shot on the protesters on the street was gas that was made in Israel. There were pictures that were posted. So as a Palestinian living in St. Louis, I got a group of activists, black activists and Palestinian activists in my backyard, literally. And we just talked, and we thought of a thing called the contingent, the Palestine contingent, within the Ferguson movement. And we brought in all of our brothers and sisters from Chicago, Palestinian brothers and sisters from Chicago, from the West Coast to St. Louis when the mobilization happened in October. And I think this is the beginning of, the relationship between Palestinian and black activists has always been there, but during that time, that's what solidified the relationship. It was both the institutional and the individual efforts.
Okay. And, but you also told me something about you're not very happy with the way the activism transformed and how it developed in the States.
Well, the United States is built on the enslavement of Africans, the massacring of the indigenous, and the colonization of our land. And I think the missing part for me, I understood that the United States is complicit in our ihtilal, in the way my land was stolen from me. But I really, for my own ignorance, I really couldn't believe in the United States has turned slavery into Jim Crow and turned Jim Crow into the prison industrial complex. It was just so evil that my mind really couldn't get it. And I am the generation who grew up in Amman in middle class watching Saved by the Bell and Friends and all of these shows, thinking, and that was something in the past, like, khalas, and move on. And I think Ferguson kind of helped me understand that. Not the words the speeches that people gave, but my time on the streets. And I'll give you an example. I think that's the most vivid moment during that year that I kind of understood what actually was going on. 2 moments. The first one was like a healing group for Black women. And one of the women, I couldn't even see her because the room was so big, but I could hear her voice through the room saying, it's unnatural for a mother to keep burying her children. And that stood with, like, that resonated, like, this is how I feel as a Palestinian mother. It's unnatural for us to be living and burying our children. And then one time I marched with some of my friends, and there was this Black woman who lived in Jennings, which was the neighborhood right next to Ferguson. And she was like, and I was like, why are you on the streets? And she was like, because khalas, enough is enough. My mom lives in Ferguson and I live right next door to her, but I work 3 jobs as a single mom and I can't visit my mom who's right next door. I'm like, شو صيرة يعني, why can't you? And she said, because every time I enter Ferguson, the police gives me a ticket. And I can't afford the tickets anymore. And that is colonization. That is occupation. I understand that. And, you go through the waves of like, oh shit, we're still under all of this still. Like, and all you say, your countries are democratic and diverse and whatever, that propaganda bullshit. Sorry, yani, but we are still I'm here in this moment and this is still going on. And that's when I understood, like, there's no Palestinian liberation without understanding other liberation movements around the world, so that we can understand who is the real evil, so we can stop also blaming ourselves, not fully, but also understand what is the real evil. And then as the years passed by, and after I lost some of my friends who used to organize with me in St. Louis, I was shocked by the response system of certain Palestinians who started having prestigious positions in some of these organizations that are speaking on behalf of Palestine or speaking on behalf of Black struggle. And it felt like they were comfortable in a job and they felt that their salary, their own interest is better than our collective liberation. Because they, how do you say? Like, they perpetuated the narrative that white supremacy had for us. Like, for example, some of the Palestinian groups did a campaign right after Ferguson and right after the 2014 war in Gaza, and that was demanding equality between who? The colonized and the colonizer in Palestine, because you mean like the European Zionists who live on my land right now have more right than me to go back. Like, you're not talking about right of return. Instead, you're talking about equality with the colonizer, for example. And then you see other Black Black institutions who say that they are fighting for Black liberation. You see some of their celebrities writing books with Zionists about Palestine, saying that the Zionists have done for Palestine more than Palestinians have done for Palestine. It's like an opinion, it's not factually correct. But the book becomes famous and he becomes the defender of Palestine.
So you don't really believe in the Palestinian, how to say, the official Palestinian struggle that happens in America?
I don't think that the United States is capable of producing such a thing. Not yet.
And the youth and occupying the universities and so on. Do you see any hope in that? That now you have the police force that, in a way, were put there, the police to protect the elite from the multitude, now beating up the children of the elite. Don't you have coming presidents, ministers, so on, Is there
presidents and ministers for what country?
From America, for America maybe.
The country that is built on the colonization of our land, the enslavement of black people, and the massacring of the indigenous. It's the same thing. They're just fighting for the same seat on the table under their own rules. Hala, having said that, I don't want to discount the movements that happen from the students because I know that this is an accumulation of what happened in Ferguson. I know there is something good in it and I believe in it and I support it. But I do know that the institutional power that controls most of these student groups is the exact corrupt institutions that I'm talking to you about. Those are the ones that are trying to diffuse the uprising the same way they did in Ferguson. However, they might not be able to do it this time because...
I mean, for example, we see the Black Lives Matter movement. That the only thing it seemed that it helped. Some black actors, some black artists, they got some jobs. They didn't help the black guy on the street at all. Do you see that same problem happening with the Palestinian movement, that some people controlling the Palestinian movement at the end of the day is not going to help the Palestinians, like the Black Lives Matter movement didn't help the black people at all?
Well, they're going to try. The Black Lives, the positions that you're talking about, they have not helped certain people, but that does not mean the people did not keep organizing. And that does not mean people stopped fighting for their liberation. But all I'm saying is the institutions are not the ones who are fighting for our liberation. They are the ones who are trying to stop us from doing that, who are trying to calm us down while we're doing it and making us more European appealing, more appealing for the European man, right? But that does not mean they're trying to do that, but does not mean they're going to succeed. I don't think so.
Now you're back in Jordan. What made you leave the States eventually?
I actually stayed too long there.
You don't want to go back?
No. Hopefully I never have to go back. But listen, at the end of the day, I'm a daughter of a refugee, and okay, it's been 75 years and counting, but I'm from nowhere until Palestine is free, until I have my right to return.
This is where you want to go?
Eventually, inshallah. And I feel like it's going to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But for now, Amman is the closest place I know to home. It's where my family is. It's the streets I know. It's the people I know. So it is the closest idea I have to a family. So the question is, why did I stay in the US for so long?
Yeah. So, and here you are now, and you're doing your amazing work with your art, which is also representing the Palestinian struggle, of course. So does it give you some relief, or how do you work with your art? And I know you bring in local kids who's painting at your studio and so on. Is that also related to the Palestinian struggle?
Yes, it's all related. I have to say that my time in the US, I'm talking to you from a structural perspective. I felt like I saw the hypocrisy, especially after working in Silicon Valley. I was a brand leader for big tech companies, and I was like, I am creating the propaganda now, so I know exactly how it works, and I just can't look myself in the mirror anymore. And so the question becomes, what do you want to do with your time? And the first thing I wanted to do is to go back to painting after 10 years of not painting, like I mentioned at the beginning. And I want to have an internal conversation with myself. And I wanted through my work to understand, who am I? Because everybody has a framing for who I am. The family, the community, the country, the institutions. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I also wanted to understand why are they trying to suppress my anger? And I have every right to be angry. And so I started painting, not really knowing where I'm going with it, other than just having an internal conversation. And then it turned into an identity study of some sort. I don't know, I'm still figuring out the word identity, the language that I'm using in identity. I feel like I wanted to explore the layers of which I am. What does it mean to be a Palestinian? What does it mean to be a woman, a brown woman in the United States? What does it mean to be a Muslim? Because there was a huge rift between me and the Quran, you know, and the religion, because I felt like it was oppressing me. Part of it is my internalized Islamophobia, because I grew up in such a westernized world. And the other part of it is my disconnection with my language, right? So how do I decolonize all of this at once?
So you feel that living in the West, it's a distance yourself from your religion, your culture, and so on.
It's not just living in the West, living in a westernized space. Because tell me a place other than Gaza that is not completely westernized at this point, that is actually actively fighting for liberation. Everybody else is global. It's like a global, it's like poison in the water that we all drink.
And many people open their eyes now even for that. You know, they're changing their lives because of the people in Gaza, because of what's happening. You don't feel that? You don't feel people changing they're deselecting a lot of stuff in their life that was poisoning their lives before?
I don't know, you're asking a jaded person, Omar. No, and I've lost friends in 2014. I've lost friends in Israeli prisons. And just last night, like even when we moved into tents, they still bombed us there, you know. So you're asking a tired woman, you know, and yeah, great. Yeah, finally people are starting to see, but this is a 105 years old fight, right? And it's in a holy land. It's not like on a piece of land in the middle of the ocean that nobody knows about. It's like Palestine. It's the land that connects Africa to Asia. It's like where humanity started in the first place. So of course it's going to go through this. And I've been silenced all these years. We've been silenced all these years. And now people are starting to see, and I'm supposed to be like, congratulations.
No, I'm not saying, I'm not even trying to say we should be happy or glad that, I have friends, they stopped drinking Coca-Cola. That's not what I mean. But the change is there somehow. And but what I hope to see when people, you know, they detach themselves from all this materialization and all these Western products, and but even now we're in the Middle East, and we're still, in a way, forced to. We are being exposed to the materialism, no matter what. Even though
capitalism,
exactly. So, but what I hope, of course, when I see is that people will continue this way.
Yeah.
But and it's not just for a period, and maybe after 2 months, and the worst thing in Gaza has passed. Then they're just gonna go back to drinking Coca-Cola, eating McDonald's, watching Netflix again, and all this stuff, you know. Yeah. I hope it's not momentarily, and it gives me a little hope that at least a part of humanity will move in the right direction.
Right. Yeah. At least a part.
Yeah. I know half the people they're on the other side. We see that. We can see that. Just go on the social media, you know. Right. It's like you see that some people you can't. They're never gonna be. They're never gonna open their eyes. They're never gonna be saved.
We're communities, Omar. You and your brothers are different. One and his own brothers are different. And no, we can't ask each other all the same thing. But people who actually have the right intentions, it's time for them to go all the way. خلاص لأنه فيش مجال. It can't go much longer.
No, it can't go. It's like you can never go back to your old life after. Yeah. So if you do that, I believe this is the biggest gift mankind could ever have. Yeah. And we are.
No, it's not a gift. It's a curse. It's a genocide.
It's a curse. No, but I mean, I believe that the people of Gaza, they're giving us a gift. They're blessing us. The people of the world, in the sense, they are giving us the opportunity to change our lives through their misery and through their pain, through their patience.
I digress. I see it differently.
Yeah.
I don't want their pain to do.
I wish it wasn't like that. But
I don't want it. I don't want I don't want their death to be my salvation ever. No. What I do think though is that the world now is ready to understand. Now that the United States empire is falling apart, they're realizing that Zionism either kills humanity or humanity ends Zionism. It's either this or that. Yes. I wish nobody had to die around the world.
I agree completely, but I mean, in their death, if we cannot use this to change our life, if this is not enough for us to open our eyes, nothing, then this world is doomed. That's what I mean. We have a chance now, and through their suffering, We have a chance.
And I think we've been doomed. Yeah. We've been doomed, and the evidence is what's happening in Gaza. Because that this is happening in Gaza, now we all know it's going to happen to all of us.
We were all sleeping,
and it's going to happen to all of us.
Yes,
and now we have been doomed for years, for hundreds of years, and now we see it in Gaza. We see how doomed we are, and how each and every one of us. Around the world, not just Palestinians, by the way.
It's just the beginning.
But it's just the beginning of kill with impunity, and you will be funded.
Yeah. If they get away with this, they're going to do it even worse next time. They want to get rid of somebody.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Just like we have experienced over the years as Palestinians. I mean, what's happening in Gaza is an extension of what happened in 1948, not to go historical on you or anything.
No one.
But my aunt, who's 90 years old, she had breathing problems. Alhamdulillah, she's a very healthy woman. But she started having serious breathing problems as soon as she saw people going through tahjir from the north to the south, when they pushed people from the north to the south, because this is precisely what she went through when she was a kid. And so this has been going on far too long. And that's why I'm saying we've been doomed. Because there's no polarity in the world. There's just an empire, a United States empire, and it decides who lives and who dies and when. And if that doesn't end now, that power, that hegemony, خلاص يعني إنه what's life for? إنه we were talking earlier, I was telling you إنه نحن we as Palestinians, يعني I know that a lot of people are afraid to say these things, or they're trying to be, very careful with their words. I am being careful with my words, and I'm using them intentionally. لأنه at this point, I feel like we as Palestinians, no matter how hard we try, no matter what happens to us, we got educated, we traveled the world, we built, good living for ourselves. بس إنه يعني, can we guarantee that any of this is going to stay? And they push us from one country to another any minute. They push us within our cities from one place to another. We spend all of our income on a house so that we can feel like, خلص, finally we have a home. And then they bomb it. راس ماله صاروخ زي ما كنا عم نحكي قبل شوي. And so we have nothing left but our story, but our truth. If we are unable to say the truth because we're going to be waved off as an angry Palestinian woman, or she's just an artist, she's being emotional, or لا, it's too soon to do this, لا, we have to be careful about, لا, ما هو خلص فيش careful. And we moved to a tent, a freaking tent, and they burnt us in these tents. And we're not even talking to each other. We were saying يعني moments ago we're trying to tell the West what happened to us. We've been telling the West all these years. They have no reason to change, honestly. You know how skeptical I was to do this interview. And okay, I would definitely want people to know our story, but at the same time, I'm tired of saying the story. You can see it, you can hear it. وبعدين, and then what?
And so people won't open their eyes. They will never open their eyes, and the governments, they will never listen to us. So what are you going to do?
People are going to open their eyes. One of the things I learned when I started learning the philosophy of Quran, when I went back to reading it, I kept getting stuck on two words. One word was the spirit, because I could find it in the Torah and the Bible, because I was reading all three books simultaneously, because the Quran kept telling me to read the Bible and the Torah. So one word was the spirit, and the other one was al-iman, belief. And because and nur, of course, those were three words that were, constant in all three books. The spirit, I found out that it means the knowledge. In both Torah and Quran, it was clear for me. I'm not very sure about it in the Bible because it's not in my native language. But I know that it's the knowledge that we accumulate as a people. And all three books are telling you, even if you don't believe in them, but as an oral history lesson for humanity, and the knowledge remains. The knowledge of freedom is not something you have to teach for people, it's automatic. The knowledge for oppression is what is manufactured, right? And so there will always be people who can hear you, because it's like a divine promise. It's like how the universe wants things to be. So there will always be people who know the truth. Hala comes in al-iman, belief. Al-iman in the holy book, it means it's not a religious thing. It means to believe the best the best case scenario possible, basically, for anything that happens. And so I do believe, the universe is fair, because I hear a lot of people saying, where is God? God is not the one who's sending bombs. He just gave us the knowledge, and we chose as a humanity to kill each other instead of help each other thrive. And now all I have to do is just find the belief in me, and it's not an easy thing, especially not today, especially after not last night, especially not from 173 days or I don't know how many days, and from 75 years. It's so difficult to maintain the belief in things are going to be okay, because I don't know how they're going to be okay. So I do believe in us. I do believe in people and our stories to live on, even if we die.
So also from a religious point of view, so you believe it's going to be okay here in this world, or will the okay not become before in the afterlife?
I do believe in us, especially people from the global south. Maybe not the European world, not the European world, not the US, because historically speaking, from what I've read about them, they've been incapable of growing civilizations. They've been more more of an expert of destroying civilization. The Chinese found out how to create gunpowder. But there were no wars at the time. It was used for something completely different. And then the Europeans found out about it, and we've been in wars since. I'm not saying we were living in peace before, but we've never seen such. It's like zombies. You don't do that. It's just wrong. Even people who don't know what's happening in Palestine, when you see people escaping into tents and then you're bombing them from the sky, it's unnatural. It's like that woman saying, it's unnatural for me to bury my child. It's unnatural for us to see headless children. These
what keeps stuck in my mind from last night are the headless children, and they've been accusing the Palestinians of beheading children for I don't know how long, using it as the reason for the genocide. You don't see any Western media today talking about the beheaded children of last night. No one.
Yeah. I mean, there are wars in the world, Omar Shargawi. There are wars in the world. But the problem we Palestinians have is that the enemy that we have is acting in a very inhumane way. He does think. Jewish supremacy is a real thing. White supremacy is a real thing. And when you combine both of them together, it feels like everybody else, like Bibi said, we're the Amalek, halal, it's okay, go ahead and kill them. They're not human, right?
Exactly. They couldn't make it in the war room. They couldn't make it official that now we're going to have a genocide. Now they're going to kill all the Palestinians. So he made a spiritual, talk for the soldiers, and use the Bible. That's how I see it. Because of course they cannot put it in there. They cannot sit in the war room and say, now we're going to kill all the Palestinians. Because maybe even somebody inside the war room say, no, we can't do that. So we had to do it that way. Make a spiritual speech for the people.
And we can't trust them on a spiritual level. We can't trust them on a tactical level, not a strategic level. I mean, they failed. They're a big failure for Europeans in general. They are the biggest European white supremacist failure. Israel is the most anti-Semitic existence that ever existed, ever. And so when we say Palestinians are liberating the world, we're liberating Jews before anyone else. We're liberating them from the Zionist movement that collaborated with the Nazis back in the days, so that they scare the Jews into running into Palestine. It's that interconnected with each other, right? فإنه هون when they want to kill us and they want to erase our stories and they want to colonize our art, and art becomes an act of resilience, truth becomes an act of resilience, of course, and belief becomes an act of resilience. And yes, I am angry. Yes, I have no trust in the United States or any of its institutions or any of the people that it hired around the world as agents of death. But I do believe I have to continue this fight. لأنه even if we all die, maybe there will be a generation after that will be able to have, I don't know, better evolution, better spiritual evolution, and be more careful with this earth.
You were in Iran lately, just recently.
Yes.
where you received the prize for your art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw the prize. It had this the symbol of exactly
Triangle.
And, the triangle. And I don't think anyone in the West have ever heard, if they're not Iranians themselves, a positive story about Iran.
Yeah.
But you saw another side of Iran that people don't know about because they only have their version from the media.
Right.
Can you tell me about something about your experience there? When was it you came back? It was recently, yeah?
It was just a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Days are still very confused. I was there for almost a week. It was my very first invite to Iran.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought ever that I would be going to Iran. I had some views about Hamas and Iran and Hezbollah up until October 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, I'm like, no, are you a resistance movement or not? No, why aren't we resisting? And then a few hours later, Tufan happens, and I'm like, oh, okay. So they were intentional. They had been planning for this intentionally, and they're not like, you can trust their strategy and where they are going. And so I personally probably would have never accepted an invite to Iran just a few months ago. But after everything that happened, when I received the invite, I was like, so everything I know about the world has been a lie. So maybe what if this was one of the lies? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to go. I was invited by a festival called Subh Festival. And I contemplated before going because all of our filmmaker friends are like all going to these film festivals, Cannes and Intifada, the radical lefty European festivals.
What do you think of that actors showing their dresses in Palestinian colors on the red carpet and stuff like that, or some supermodels go with a kufiya dress down there and eating a sexy ice cream? What do you think of that?
They should be really scared because people are going to come after them eventually. It was the biggest disaster.
I think it's so stupid. It's so stupid. What the F is going on?
And then when you talk to them and you argue with them, it's going to be better. Hold off for 1 year, but 1 year. They're like, no, we're going to lift up a sign that says ceasefire. Ceasefire is the language of the colonizer. What we want is an end of aggression on Gaza. And you're going to hang the language of the colonizer, But
when I feel like this supermodel, with the Palestinian background, walking down the river with her, it was like, is this for the Palestinian cause or is it for you? Going and eating this lollipop, and taking some sexy pictures. What the
ما هو عمر, I think
I get angry from this. It's not. You please go home and put a dress on, put some clothes on.
Please stay away from the kufiya.
Exactly.
لا بس ما هو عمر, I think we've arrived at a point where we need to differentiate between what you're doing for Palestine and what Palestine is doing for you.
But the problem is also Palestinians. They're so grateful. The Palestinians is in their blood to be grateful. So anybody who does a little thing, show a little bit of Palestine, even though it's a sexy dress, you say, "Oh yeah, she's representing us."
He's doing this for Palestine. To different Palestinians than the one I'm talking to. At the end of the day, like I said before, Palestinians are communities and communities. When the problem I kept facing in my organizing in the US is like, we have a token Palestinian. They said this was okay. لا مش all one Palestinian can't speak for all Palestinians. ما نحن وعنا diaspora وعنا Jerusalem وعنا غزة والضفة and the South and 48. نحن أصلا the way they colonized us is different from each other, and that helps with the segregation of each other. It's the same way they did with black communities and Palestinians in the United States. The form of oppression that I face as a brown Palestinian Muslim woman is completely different from the kind of oppression that a black woman has in the United States. But at the end of the root of it is the same system of power. But I keep thinking, no, I haven't had it as bad as you did. And they think, I haven't had it as bad as you think. And we just, we drift apart. But the reality is, we have to stay focused on who the real enemy is. And it's the United States and all of its propaganda, including these Palestinian tokens that are eating lollipops. Again, I'm telling you, we have to differentiate between what Palestine is doing for you and what you are doing for Palestine. Anyone who wants to do their tadamun thing, the solidarity thing. First of all, she's Palestinian. How is she in solidarity with herself? And you can't be in solidarity with Palestinians if you're a Palestinian, ya ammi. You can't. It's like, it doesn't work. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to change your mind about your solidarity because of a few people like criticized you and you feel like, oh, khalas, I'm not going to support the Palestinians because whatever I do is not working, then Allah ma'ak, please leave us alone. لأنه it's time for you to figure out how you were colonized and decolonized. Learn and unlearn. مش إنه to come with your plan, your vision and خلاص إنه deal with it. This is the way it is. You know what I mean? فإنه هدول, all of the filmmakers, unfortunately, some of them are close friends. One of the films that I worked on last year was showing in these film festivals. And I had to put out a statement saying, Wallahi, I tried everything to stop this film from going. But I couldn't because it's much bigger than me.
So Palestinian filmmakers should not attend these Western festivals around Europe and America, I believe.
No, who am I to decide? But I was thinking, no, what if we boycott them for a couple of years? What happens?
Yeah.
They will fall apart. We are the legitimacy for all of these festivals. We make them more legitimate. But when you have a film festival where nobody is talking about Palestine like they have been for the past 100 years, then everybody can see, they're irrelevant, they are obsolete. Aslan, they've destroyed the film industry, like the stories that we tell in films. And what are the, يعني هلا احنا we're both filmmakers, so we know what we both tried. I left, you're still يعني figuring it out. But one of the reasons why we stopped is because we have real stories to tell.
I heard the rumors that it's going so bad in Hollywood now that Turkish money are coming to infiltrate the Hollywood industry and try to take it over. Let's see what's
and then some. And like that's what I'm trying to say. If some of these I know a lot of filmmakers. Our friend Mahmoud Massad, for example, he refused $40,000 as a fund because he wanted to start.
That was very brave.
Exactly. And there are other black and brown filmmakers in the United States and Canada who withdrew from other film festivals, like big film festivals that are very important for their career. It's not all that. But I was thinking, what if we withdraw from these spaces and let them fall apart because they're already dying. And I walked in New York the last time I went to New York. It was so dystopian. It felt like I was reading 1984 for Orwell because all of these big billboards, they were either for the NYPD, the police that are oppressing people, or there's sequels that they have made 500,000 of them because they don't know what other stories to tell, or they are brands that are supporting Zionist entities. And I was looking like you're falling apart and people don't know it. And now what's happening in Palestine is, you have no doubt at this point.
We always knew when we were watching this stupid Hollywood stuff that we were killing time, we were being lazy, we were being bored, bored from daily life, and we were watching this bullshit. And we know in the back of our mind we were giving poison, but we accepted it. But now we can't accept it anymore. It's like I can't really, I physically can't watch it anymore. Something happened to me, I can't physically watch it. I tried a couple of times. Say, okay, I'm gonna have a little break from it just to get my mind away. And it's 3:00 in the night. I can't sleep. Let me put something else. It's nothing to do with dying children. But I couldn't. The triumph says I couldn't because it's like what is this? I can't watch this. And they're lying to us and they are manipulating, and it's so stupid. And at the same time, the narrative from a dramatic point of view is boring because what I see, in the social media from Gaza, also from an artistic, let's say, even it's so bizarre, but even from an artistic point of view, is more beautiful than they can ever do.
Right.
I think it's completely falling apart.
In Quran, there's a thing that says النفاثات في العقد. We repeat it. It's one of the smaller surahs, so we repeat it all the time, but I never understood what it meant. And one of the translations that I loved so much of it is that you find the complexity in a community and you keep blowing lies into it, whatever problem that you and I have, someone comes and they repeat the same lies on and on. So when you look at like Friends, The Big Bang Theory, Golden Girls, all of these sitcoms that we grew up watching, and they're repetitive, they're weekly, and everybody around you is watching them, so you watch them. If you unpack all of that, it's a story that's defining two things for us, for this generation, all of the generation all around the world. How to make friends, what are the parameters of friends, and those friendships are always based on sex. They're always based on the body, on the physical. None of it is based on the spiritual. And you can't build communities like that. They built these sitcoms and these TV shows and these films so that they can make people feel like you are an individual, and if you want to depend on anyone, depend on us, the government and the institutions. So you don't depend on your family, you don't depend on a community. There's no community. So in the organizing spaces, we were talking about it a few minutes ago. One of the things that made me aware, no, I don't want to organize with these people, is because within these circles, they're perpetuating the same systems of power. And a black woman, they silence her. A Palestinian woman, la, you're wrong. They get another Palestinian woman. See, this Palestinian woman agrees with us. But then they continue to be in control. Having the biggest, the Jewish Voice for Peace has the biggest table at the Students for Justice in Palestine conferences. And when I'm arguing, why do they have the biggest table? Everybody gets bad. This is not how it goes. I'm like, bas for the semantics, ya ammi, let us feel empowered in this space. Bas
I think the first time I saw someone with an Arab background in a Hollywood film, I think it was some stupid super film. What's it called? Superhero film. She was supposed to be Arabic in the film, and she was wearing this very tight, sexy costume, And this was the only way they could, promote her as an Arab if she was doing it the Western way, and showing off everything.
And just to that point, I want to say something about Iran. Because one of the things I was really, I don't know what the word, I'm just like, I don't know how to handle it, is that I don't wear a hijab. My mom wears a hijab, so I have a very soft relationship with it. A lot of friends who wear it. But I personally never wore it. And one of the things they plant in your head is that it is a sign of oppression. And if you accept it when you don't wear it, then it's like, so I just went with this confusion. And how am I going to deal with this? And one of the weirdest experiences that I had is that as soon as I arrived to when the plane arrived to Tehran, all the women put it. And I put it automatic. It wasn't like, my freedom is being taken away from me. It's everybody is doing it, right? And it's something familiar to me. It's not like, I've never seen it before.
It's going with the culture.
It's not like they're asking me to walk on one foot all day long. It's like something that is normal. And then you go on the streets, and most of the women there don't have scarves. They have the scarves around their necks, but they're not wearing it on their head. Which a lot of other women, you know what I mean? And they have the most beautiful fashion. Me and my friends were like, oh my God, the women here are beautiful. The men and the women. And they look like us. And one of the things, and when I came back to Amman, it was so weird, Omar, for me to leave the house without the hijab. I only put it on for 7 days. But it wasn't like, I can't wait to take it off. It was like, my hands are showing. Should I? So it's something that is natural and... it's a daily practice for us. It's not like something that's going to scare me. But they use it in that thing. I don't know. And maybe there's there. I'm not saying it's all nice and dandy. But my personal experience with it, I do want to build bridges with the Iranians.
They want to build make a picture that everybody's miserable in Iran.
I want to build bridges with the miserable. We're both miserable. We are the wretched of the earth, the ones that Fanon talked about. We have art that is in common. We have history that is in common. We look like each other. We're not condescending towards each other. Meanwhile, all of the European spaces that I have always been condescending towards me.
Even the split the states have been trying to create since... especially since the war in Iraq, between the split between the Sunni and the Shia, making us enemies,
Yeah. there has to be blood between us so that we don't talk to each other. And a lot of people were mad at me. Some of my followers were mad at me when I left Iran. And every now and then they send me someone to say something.
And you see all the ones who's fighting for Palestine now, is they're all with the Shia background. You know?
Yeah, and one of the things I learned in Iran, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it was told to me by more than one person, is that in the constitution of Iran, it's actually mandatory to give a specific budget of the country to support resistance movements in Palestine. They haven't been sending bombs to bomb people in tents. You know, they have been sending money to support the resistance movements. So why would I not talk to them based on U.S. propaganda? Meanwhile, U.S. White supremacist systems that has both black and brown and white people in it. Those systems, they don't want to talk to people who talk about resistance.
No, one thing is for sure, and we found out with the Rasa as well, is all the stories we were told. Everything we learned in school, everything we learned through our lives, through media, through films. We know one thing for sure now, we cannot trust anything they told us. We have to rediscover everything.
Learn
ourselves
and
earn, exactly. We have to brush everything away and learn from beginning again.
We have so much to unlearn.
And that's a lot.
So much to unlearn. But you know, that's why, and I loved going back to the holy book, to the Kitab al-Hakim, to Quran. I really, really did. Not from a religious perspective, but I considered it to be like a book of wisdom, you know, like a 1400-year-old book that has wisdom in it. And it tells you all of these things. It tells you why Ahl Gaza are still being able to stay steadfast through all of this horror they are facing in terror, because they understand something in their schools because of their proximity to Quran that no one around the world understands, to be honest. It's like how to believe, how to know that inna ma'al usri yusra, whenever there's hardship there will be ease. No, it all like
but also back to this, the Rassans being the example. I believe that because they had war with our religion, with Islam. The West is at war with Islam. But what they didn't figure out is that actually by trying to kill all the people in Palestine, they became the very example of the religion and showing the pure example. We're not talking about these YouTube imams or these paid sheikhs around the different mosques around the world who's been paid by the different governments to put there, and their obedience is more to the country they were sent from than to God actually. But they did not expect the people of Rafah actually to be such an example of the religion. And you see now thousands of people around the world converting to Islam, and they did not expect that. It wasn't in their calculation.
And here comes the importance of the story too. Because I come from, like I told you, my dad is from Lid. And one of the most prominent, most awful massacres that we know about in 1948 was Deir Yassin. Apparently, one of the more ugliest massacres that happened during that time, 2 months after, was in Lid, the city where my family comes from. And I tried to study whatever information I could find about it, because there is not enough information about it. It's been covered for so many years, and it's still like the information about it has not been released by the high court in Israel. The massacres that happened there had to be so violent because that's where the airport and the railroad is. I don't know exactly what happened there because my family wouldn't tell me. I just know it was bad. And like I told you, when my family sees what's happening in Gaza right now, they're saying exactly what happened to them. And so this violence, this torture, this terror has been going on for literally hundreds of years. But now the empire is falling and the people are changing, and they're changing rapidly. The things are going out of control. And so the Zionists from their side, they have to kill as many of us. We both know, we were talking about it a few days ago, we both know this is going to be over because all nightmares end at the end of the day. But how is it going? What is the price that Palestinians are going to pay? What is the price that the students on the encampments are going to, the good ones are going to pay? How much more money are people going to make out of it? Not doing for Palestine, taking from Palestine. Are we going to continue to make these things go on, or are we going to be smart enough to stop them? This is what we don't know. فإنه that's why we keep talking about steadfastness, sabr. We were talking about patience and iman, because what else can we do? Like, there are so many things that we are actively doing. We're artists and we're trying to liberate our way of thinking so that it doesn't happen to other people. But right now, right in this moment, we're in complete shock, and we're seeing our people in tents being burned alive. Yani we talked about the children, and in all of the reports that they say women and children. But what about the Palestinian man? Is he not human, مثلا? Well, is every Palestinian man labeled as a terrorist? It's our fathers. I'm a woman, and I want Palestinian men to be okay. Why aren't they mentioned? It's this dehumanization of us that's going to continue.
According to studies of Norbert Finkelstein, he says that we had him on the show as well.
I know.
Yeah. But he said that according to the Israeli army, every single male person above 21, he's considered a Hamas fighter. So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if he's a shoemaker, he's a baker, or whatever. In their eyes, he's a Hamas fighter. This is how they calculate it.
To me, every single European who's on the land of Palestine, who has served in the army, once we're free, they are not allowed to stay in Palestine. Okay, let's go. We are going to be free. It's only a matter of time. And then after that. All of these people who have served in the army, who made a ton of money, either working for the army or after they worked for the army, going against the army, pretending like another academics and they're activists and all of that. None of them should stay in Palestine, at least for every 10 years, 1 year. And this is when we are liberated and we all are asked, like, how do we want accountability for what happened to us?
Has to be justice.
For every 10 years, 1 year. Mamnoua, don't come to Palestine. You served in the army. You served in the most awful, we call it an army. I make a mistake and call it an army. It's a gang. It's a big gang, That's what we used to call it, by the way, in 1948, when you read about what happened.
There used to be a gang.
They used to call them the Jewish gangs. And then they changed the words so that with it changes the ideas.
And then they became ministers and prime ministers and so on.
Oh, legitimacy.
And this is a funny thing today, because then they say, so when the dust settled, and so what about Hamas? This is the Western leaders saying this. Hamas cannot be a part of government.
What about the
army? This is what I'm
the
saying.
Gangs.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Even if you want to call Hamas a terrorist organization, even if they call it that, what about the Jewish gangs back then, who were terrorist organizations, who all became ministers?
I'm going to say Hamas is not terrorist.
No, I'm saying even, exactly.
But any resistance we come up with, because we're brown, is considered terrorism.
Exactly.
But the actual terrorism that we've been living in for 100 years, it's not talked about. There's going to be accountability for these hundreds of years. Whether I live to see it or not is not the point. But whether it's going to happen or not, that I am sure of. I am sure there's going to be accountability. لأنه خلص they expose themselves to the rest of the world, know.
Just here in the end, I think there was a map here. I hope it's okay. I'll take it out. I'll do it very, very carefully.
We're going to talk about this.
That's just going to say one thing here in the end. You are the artist. You have better fingers than me. More sensitive.
Allah yastar. No, it's upside down.
Is it upside down? Yes. So is this the shape of our country? I know there's a bit missing in the bottom. Is this the final shape of the country?
You guys in Europe say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Me and my friends here say something different. We say من المية للمية.
I'll let you do this, yes.
من المية للمية means from the ocean to the Khalij. Because Palestine is not borders, by the way. Palestine is the land that connects Africa to Asia. And any empire that wants to control the world and oppress the world has to control Palestine. And so Palestine, other than being borders, yes, we do want land and we want our borders. But also Palestine is an idea. If Palestine is safe, neither Africa nor Asia is going to be exploited by these empires.
So Palestine will liberate the Asia and the Middle East, you mean?
Well, if everybody is going after Palestinians to kill them right now, like the world powers and the empires are trying to do that. But once they fail, and they will, and once we are liberated, Palestinians are going to make sure that the rest of the world is not exploited nor enslaved.
So a Middle East, an Arab world without borders. This is what we're fighting for as well.
Well, it should be a strategy and a vision, because like we were saying the other day, is it a one state or a two state? This is like political mumbo jumbo for me as an artist. I personally don't understand it. But I don't want any of my ceilings to be given to me by the colonizer. Because both this one state and this two state mumbo jumbo has been given to us by the Zionist entities of the world. Anna, to me, I'm an artist. I want liberation, real, true liberation. And Anna, I went to Iran and I found so much in common with them in Iran. So can you imagine like how much in common we have with Algeria? Why do they keep comparing what's happening in Palestine with South Africa? Because they want to push the equality with the colonizer idea. But the reality is what happened to us in Palestine is identical to what happened in Algeria. Because after the Second World War is an extension of the First World War. And the Second World War never actually ended. And the proof of it is the existence of Israel. It is the colonial settler existence that all of the people who won in the Second World War invested in, even the ones who lost. Even Germany was invested in it. Germany doesn't like there to be a genocide without them being part of it.
No, of course not.
But the reality is, in the Second World War, it never really ended. So we as Palestinians, right now, with our resistance, we are ending the Second World War, and they're calling us terrorists for that. So, this whole narrative, the solutions that they have, I don't care about them. I have to create my own reality. I have to know Arab-speaking people in Africa and Asia, and the even larger population of Muslims of the world are the wretched of the earth that Fanon talked about, and that they will find a way to connect and communicate with each other and become the power that protects this earth.
And with that,
Ghassan Kanafani wrote a book اسمه الأدب الفلسطيني المقاوم تحت الاحتلال, resistance literature under occupation. Is it occupation? احتلال is another word. Under occupation.
Under occupation.
And he said, in order for art or literature to be truly liberation literature, it has to have three components. The first component is to be in touch with the working class. Number two is to be in touch with its Arab liberation movements. And number three is to be in touch with the world liberation movements. And so if we want to think of any Palestine that we are dreaming of, we should not narrow ourselves to whatever the Zionists are giving us, rather than to think of land and sovereignty and right of return and Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine within the same context we think of art. It has to be a safe place for the working class. It has to be in connection with the Arab-speaking world, and it has to be in connection with all of the liberation movements around the world. Otherwise, we'll just keep going for 35 years like they have been with the peace treaty negotiations for nothing. We're not politicians,
and they're continuing now with the same bullshit.
They've repeated it for too long. I don't think it's going to work out anymore.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, خلص.
Yes.
It's our time to think and imagine and build. If we continue to build within the same structures and talk to the same people and hope for a different outcome, then we're stuck again, unfortunately. But if we figure out how to have serious, like real sovereignty over our thinking and our strategies and our land, then maybe we'll have like a few good years in this world.
We need to have a strategy.
Oh, we who?
We, the Palestinians, we need to have a strategy.
Well, the Palestinians are not one thing. Liberation fighters and resistance fighters around the world. The word jihad has been demonized in European media. But from a linguistic perspective, jihad is the effort, is juhad. It's the effort. So basically, if you read a book and you put an effort into it, or you write a book and you put an effort, this is jihad, And so we need to put an effort. People who thinkers, not the intellectuals. I don't get along with the intellectuals very well. But we as thinkers, we have to put whatever effort we can into this world and believe things are going to be okay, because ideas like liberation ideas actually fly, and they accumulate much faster. Like the Zionist entities have been trying to colonize our propaganda all these years, like we were saying, within sitcoms, movies, radio shows, everything. In every way, they've been trying to colonize us all these years. And then when the Tufan happened, all of it meant nothing. But Tufan al-Aqsa will continue to be a liberation movement for any group that's actually looking for liberation. So when people do things with the right intentions, liberation intentions, they never die. That's the thing. Even if the fighter himself died, the idea never dies. But in order for the systems to continue to oppress, they have to stay alive. And that's why we're dying in mass right now, being killed in mass.
Thank you so much.
أهلا وسهلا فيك بعمان. نورت عمان. Thank you for having me.
No, it was a big pleasure.
أهلا وسهلا.
We talk again, I hope.
إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.
دير بالك على حالك.
أنت كمان. Okay, thank you very much.